Do we look okay?
Do we look okay?
I'm really into this flannel shirt here.
Yeah, you've been working that for a while. Is that one of the ones we got at the Army Navy store?
No. I got this one at a consignment store. So I am totally thrift dressed right now.
Nice.
So I've got this. I got this at Second Love on, it's like Tennyson and 41st.
Oh, right.
And then this gray shirt underneath here, which whenever I put it on, I feel like I'm dressing like you.
Yeah.
Like this is an Old Navy gray plain shirt. This is totally a Justin color. This one I got at, yeah, there you are. You're always wearing gray.
Yeah.
I got this one at Global Thrift up in Arvada.
Oh.
And dude, this is when I came home and they sell you bags of clothes that you you fill the bag. So like you pick stuff and you can put it in a little grocery bag. Not like, it's a little smaller than a typical grocery bag.
Yeah, but still.
You put whatever you want in that bag and it's $12.
Yeah.
So I got like 3 t-shirts and 2 skirts and like a light sweater or something. And they all fit in the bag for $12. So like this shirt, which I wear at gigs, I think you could say this costs like $2.
Yeah.
I love it. And then I spend $125 on a pair of cool boots. But, you know, I can do that because I'm buying $2 t-shirts.
That's hilarious.
Anyway.
So,
we did not gig this weekend.
We did not have a gig this weekend. Boy, that's weird when you say it out loud. Yeah.
But we went out a lot.
We went out a ton. We had a really fun weekend.
Yeah. So we started with a trip to the Oriental Theatre on Friday to see our friends Ryan and Carla in the No Doubt tribute band, Just a Girl.
Right. Band's name is Just a Girl.
Yeah.
It's a tribute to No Doubt.
Right.
Also, Fire and Ice was playing that night, and the Alanis tribute.
Yeah.
However, we were only able to catch part of Just a Girl.
Because we had tickets to another show.
Yeah, right.
But Just a Girl was great. They had synchronized video. Really well done.
Really well done.
Girl bass player.
Yeah. She plays in Dolls in the Attic with Ariadne.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's who that is.
Right.
Okay. I saw her on Facebook. Like someone posted photos and identified her, and her name is a complicated name. It looks like it might have Greek influence or Turkish influence.
Yeah, right.
I think it's got like K's and Z's and stuff. I can't remember her name. Very cool name, but
really good bass player.
Cool.
Yeah. And it was fun seeing Ryan Miller, who just is obviously a pro now. I mean, his stage moves and stuff were just so smooth and
you were saying there's this difference between people who are kind of seasoned and like they have stage moves that look smooth or like thoughtless, like yeah, of course I'm doing this.
Yeah, it's just effortless.
Versus people who are newer to the stage who may have workshopped it at home, they may have woodshedded and practiced their moves, but it just doesn't look like it's got like the years of dirt on the instrument, you know, or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, some of it is too, like, you see a little bit when someone is trying to do moves and stuff.
Right.
Versus they're just doing them and it's second nature and they're not thinking about, you know, the guitar chops and those kinds of things. Right. It's just like, and Ryan definitely has that look where it was just, you know, he was accenting the music, number one. They weren't random. They were accenting the music and the big starts of exciting parts he'd, you know, chop into or spin or, you know, do something to mark that. And then, it was just really cool. So Ryan has been touring for years now with his metal band called The Anchor, which is a just straight up metal band.
I remember when I saw them.
Oh, you worked on their record.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, but even before that. So I met Lindsay, who was the bass player in the band before The Anchor. Like, they changed names. So whatever The Anchor was before that, she was the bass player. And then they changed for her to be the singer. So she's a screamer, a female screamer.
She sure is, yeah.
And she can do it, man. But I went to see their first big show. It might have been their first show with her on the front. And it was at Castleman's.
Oh.
And they were opening for some big national.
Right.
So they had a big crowd. And it's not my kind of music, but I could tell, holy shit, these guys are going places. Like from the very first show, there was something about them where like, this is for real.
Yeah.
And they've built a following nationally, and they go out and tour for a couple of weeks, several times a year.
Yeah. 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 Lindsay also has a pretty hilarious YouTube series.
Yes.
I guess it's still up. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I looked at it less than a year ago. I think it's still up. Metal Kitchen.
It's just basically a cooking show done with metal voice. Yeah.
Yeah, they like
with
make music
vocals.
with like double kick and like lots of screaming guitars, and then she like tells you how to make, turkey pot pie, dressed all cute with a little apron and everything, but she's like, and they make songs, out of that.
And gets millions of views.
It went viral. I don't think they're making them anymore, but they certainly got a lot of followers from that.
Yeah.
It was funny.
So anyway, that was Just a Girl.
Yeah. And I know Ryan from even before then, like the reason Ryan and I are friends.
You definitely do, yeah.
And helping them on the record. So I know Ryan from Guitar Villains, which was a live karaoke band that I played keys in and sang backup in a long time ago now. He was a voice student of mine. He was driving up from Denver to Boulder to take voice lessons with me in my basement. And then I heard they needed a keyboard player. So I was like, I'm not really a keyboard player, but I could try. And all I did was learn the parts exactly, which is exactly what they wanted. So I'm not like a great keyboard player, but I can hear stuff and be like, yeah, it goes like this. Do, do, do. So anyway, I joined Guitar Villains for a couple of years, and that's how I know Ryan. And then I worked on the Anchors album. I didn't really work on their album. I just recorded.
Well, you worked on the harmonies.
No, I didn't record the harmonies. I helped them pick out the harmonies.
Right.
So I recorded reference tracks for harmonies. So yeah, lots of history with Ryan.
Yeah, great guy. Yeah. Great guy.
Yeah. And Carla also really looked the part for No Doubt.
Sure did.
For Gwen Stefani.
Yeah.
Got the six pack and the low, like big old pants and like little crop top. Anyway.
Great performer running around.
Yeah. So that was that. Then, I keep interrupting you.
Yeah, no. I'm going the same place you are.
Okay.
Then, so the reason we had to leave is we had tickets for St. Lucia at
the Gothic.
Gothic. Yeah. Which, kind of a we had trouble finding a place where we could see easily.
Yeah, because we got there. We got there before their set started.
Before their set, but it was after the opener.
Yeah.
So
all of the good sight lines were taken. You could only stand like under the balcony, and so I was like trying to be tall enough to see over the people's heads, but low enough to see under the balcony.
Right.
Kind of annoying. But we enjoyed the show overall, but had some observations on this one.
I mean, first of all, I have to say how much we love St. Lucia.
Yes.
And it has been one of
our biggest influences, personally, at least for me. Maybe not for you, but
I would say it's probably our relationship's favorite band.
That's our relationship's favorite band.
Between the two of us, that's our intersection the most, probably.
That and War on Drugs.
Yeah.
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 The St. Lucia's a little more on my side, and War on Drugs is a little more on your side.
Yeah, that's fair. It's
a little more guitar-y and a little more synth.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we absolutely love St. Lucia. But we did have some observations.
Yeah. Gosh, the first thing I could not help but observe was, what is the lead singer's name? I should have had that prepared. I'll put it in notes. But his voice was trash at the beginning. I was worried that he wasn't going to make it through the show. It was so trashed. Because ragged.
You would probably describe a lot of those songs as, not acrobatic, but
there's a lot of high stuff. And the melodies do move around. I don't know how you do it. Somehow you always done.
Yeah, I guess you would. It's pretty.
So it covers a lot of ground.
Yeah.
So he was pushing hard, and his voice was just like cracking and just ragged sounding, and not a lot of connection to his head voice. He had to flip to a light falsetto, but miraculously it warmed up or something, and by the fourth or fifth song his voice was good, and then it was great halfway through the song. It was great again.
Although I mean, people that are hardcore singers, I mean, you've said that's true of you. Like, for you to get warmed up it takes a lot of just straight singing.
If I haven't been keeping up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But if I sing the way he sang, if I push my voice the way he did, the first couple songs, it would only be downhill from there. It may take me a long time to warm up if I haven't been keeping up with it, but I know how to do it. I start small and find the vocal cord edge and just take my time and build it up, get the blood flowing, get the vocal cords kind of, working together again.
Yeah.
If I come in all guns a-blazing and have my voice start breaking and then the chords get thicker, they get irritated, they're slamming together hard, it only gets worse from there. So
Right.
I have no idea how he pulled it out, what happened to
But he did.
Yeah.
Great by the end.
Yeah.
Great by the end. And, to be fair, for all of this, I mean, if you're coming from somewhere else, you're all of a sudden at a mile of altitude, and that does have an effect on your body. I think we've stopped noticing it from living out here, but...
Plus the dryness that is much drier
plus
than most
much,
places.
much drier.
And they're at the beginning of their tour.
Right. And coming from the East Coast.
Yeah.
So, a lot of factors there. But yeah, all in all, great show.
Other observations? Like, the show really seemed to flow the second half. The first
Right.
half felt disconnected or something.
Right.
Like, from song to song, each song was good, but like in between it felt... It's not that there was a lot of stand around time, because that can be fine. Mm-hmm. It's that there was an awkwardness to it.
Yeah.
Maybe they hadn't run through that exact set enough times or something. I don't know.
Who knows? And you never know. There's so many things going on behind the scenes, and just being on tour is, you never know.
And they have a complicated setup too, because they have a number of percussion stations on stage. Every band member at some point played some kind of percussion.
Drums, toms, concert toms,
The little shaky
rototoms.
sample pads, cowbells, wood blocks.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody had something. Oh, they introduced one of their songs that way. They had a drum solo.
Right.
Remember? A drum solo-ish where, and he brought the audience in on it. So he played a little bit and he was like, pulled over a mic, was like, I need you guys' help. So he got the whole room clapping on quarter notes, and then used that, like he was keeping the kick going to keep everybody from speeding up, as crowds do. And then went off and soloed on top of that.
Yeah,
and
which
then,
was very cool.
Yeah. Then the rest of the band came in and joined in basically a percussion jam.
Right.
And then that slid right into... Might have been Elevation. It was a big song.
Elevation, yeah.
Yeah. That was a cool moment.
Yeah. And I thought they did a great job. They did a cool thing. They are originally, at least, from South Africa. And they did You Can Call Me Al from the Graceland Paul Simon album, which had a lot of South African musicians on it.
And then they mashed that up with one of their originals.
With one of their originals, yeah.
So the bass was still going do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do. And then their song worked perfectly over that bass line.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Gosh, so that was St. Lucia. And then we went Saturday night and saw Maria Bamford, who's a stand-up comedian that I've been a big fan of for a long time. And I don't know if I introduced you, but probably
could be, I don't know.
Heard more of it from being around me. Really great stand-up, really avant-garde in a way, like certainly not that traditional of a stand-up, in terms of, not a Jerry Seinfeld type of stand-up, A
little bit of insanity.
Yeah.
She's a bit of an insane person.
Yeah, and talks a lot about her mental health struggles but lots of voices and I noticed she does things where she was talking about the bigger picture of like what do you do if you need help, and who can you call if you need help?
Because the suicide hotline. You might wait for 45 to 90 minutes.
Right, yeah. And so she was talking about, various places you could call to get help. And one of the places she was acting out calling was the I think abortion hotline or like prevention, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And basically saying, after 52 years, what's the plan? But the part that struck me is she was like, the punchline to the joke was, she yells, "I want to be placed in a loving home." Which you have to know that that's the promise of calling the abortion hotline, is that they'll help your baby get put in a loving home. So like she leaves like large chunks out that you have to kind of like fill in. I think that's one of the reasons she's not so like a Seinfeld type comedian where it's very fed to you. That said, we were both blown away that it was like being put under a spell. Like it was, no feeling of time passing or how long it had been or and like, it was really like you were more in her thoughts than you were in your own. It was just like, it was an amazing, it was a small room, 200 people, I bet, with the balcony, maybe a little more. So you were close, because it was a semicircular room. So you were very close. I don't know if that was it. I don't know if it was just her performance. I really don't know what it was, but
it was captivating.
Captivating. Yeah.
Yeah. So memorable. What can we learn from her?
I think one thing I'm taking away from it is that goal of being that immersive for people. I think that's where, who knows if we can ever pull it off or if in music you can do it, but that's kind of my new goal, is to, take people somewhere else.
Yes, but how?
Yeah, right.
I think we have moments where that happens. I think that the fact that we do shows that start to finish are 3 hours long means we must be providing that to some degree, because that would be a boring show.
Right.
If people were just standing back,
aware of your, and like watching your, checking your watch. I don't know, some of, I think one thing you can remark on is that personal connection stuff, I think, was part of what was doing it. Personal
to us, to the room.
Yeah.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
I was literally going to say that.
Yeah. Which happens all the time. We've seen crowds get more into it and more amped and more all of those things as you have shared even the smallest ways that they feel like they know who is on stage.
Oh, I was seeing it from a slightly different angle.
Okay.
Which was that, and I think that's totally true.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about how, she opened with basically some Denver jokes.
That is true. I forgot that. Yeah.
So basically being aware of the shades of difference, being present with your audience and understanding who they are. And connecting, like knowing that you're not just up here like, here's me, here, get to know me, this is the thing I do, but being like, here's me, and I see you too.
Right, there you go. That's another...
She was...
Yeah, that's another...
She was wearing a Mutiny Information Cafe t-shirt.
Right,
so that's super
right, which
cool.
is a famous comic book, or bookstore
yeah.
Down on Broadway.
And she was like, I can hang with you guys. I can... walk on trails. She's like so not athletic.
Yeah. I can drink beer.
Yeah.
It was just, I think you're right. I think that provided a lot of it, of the, how you got into it, rather than just coming out and being like, blam, here's my material. Which I was impressed. I've heard everything she's ever done, and 99.9% of that was new material.
Wow.
There was one little description thing that she has used for years.
What's that?
The bit about the intrusive thoughts bit.
Okay.
About attacking her family. She has a little spiel that she uses to describe that. Other than that, it was all new, which you don't. I mean,
That was a lot of new material. Then
that's a lot of new material because it was an hour and 15 minutes, maybe. That's a lot of new material. So
we were talking about how terrifying this job is to us.
Yeah,
you know,
I can't imagine.
I can't imagine having to get up on stage and make people laugh for an hour and 15 minutes as my job. There's nothing scarier.
Just you on stage for an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, you can't like take a break and gather yourself for more than 3 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, it is all eyes on you that entire time. Oh my gosh, what intensity.
Yeah. Not even you and a guitar, just you.
Yeah.
That's...
All respect to comedians.
Yeah, that bit where she was talking about some part of her mental health or a journey in something. I can't remember now what it was, but and then she slowly drifted off to sleep.
Right.
In the middle of talking.
And she fell down and started snoring.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, sorry. I got bored of my own narrative.
Yeah. I lost interest in my own narrative.
Right.
It's like so perfectly. That was another thing that blew me away about her, that how great the act outs were.
Yeah.
Where the acting part of it was so masterfully done.
Mm-hmm. She's really good at that.
Yeah. It's anyway, that
so
we're going to have
fun.
to go see more live comedy because I have not done that much of that. Even though I listened to a bunch of it.
Yeah.
And then, gosh, Sunday I was at Global Sound with a young band called 1023. Mateo up at Global Sound. They're sort of like they're a music school, but they put kids into bands, and the difference with them being that obviously when you very first start and they do little summer camps and stuff, you do covers, but then once you're high schoolish age, they push the kids and help the kids in writing original material. And I often go up and record those bands.
And you do it in a day, which is insane.
Yeah. So we do everything, in one day.
Recording, mixing, and mastering an entire band.
Right.
In one day.
In one day.
It's really crazy.
I don't take breaks. It's 8 hours in a chair.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. It's fun. I love going up there, too. I didn't do it this time because I think we were running a little late and everybody was running late and then I also just wasn't in the mood. But what I usually like about working up there is that I get to experiment a ton. Mm-hmm. Often I'll mic the drums differently each time, do overheads differently, do room mics differently, and just kind of experiment with different ways of doing things, and do the guitars differently, and do the, and when I'm mixing, I'll go, I'm going to,
And why does this situation allow you to experiment so much?
Partially because I am doing it all in one day. So it's easy to keep the thread of what I've done, whereas you have a little more, it's not as visceral of a connection if you record drums and now you're mixing those drums, but it's been 6 weeks.
Oh.
It's like I'm living in the song the whole time that I'm there. And, it's just like I said, it's a lot more visceral. I can really feel what's different about it or the challenges or whatever. And then also, the stuff gets released, but there's also an expectation that we are doing it in a day, and it's probably not going to come out like a commercial recording that costs thousands of dollars. Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit more leeway.
Yeah.
And even in the playing and stuff, you make some compromises, where you're like, well, that's not perfect, but and some of my job when I'm doing that is just the time management of like, we have to move on. Like, this is not maybe as good as I would want a certain part to be, but we have 4 hours left and we still have to do guitars and we have to do vocals and we have to do this and that. And so, the time management of it is a big part of it.
How do you layer? Do you typically get bass and drums done with like a scratch guitar or scratch vocal and then you build up from there? Or
Yes. Or often what I do is I have the guitar, I have the guitar player and bass player play with the drummer with the expectation that I'm not keeping either of those things.
Okay.
And occasionally maybe the bass is good enough. I don't even try to get a good guitar sound to do that. It's just, to me, when you're trying to record a full band, you lose so much time trying to make sure three things are okay all the way through, whereas it actually is faster if I just go, you guys play with him because you guys are used to rehearsing, and often we don't even use the scratch vocal up there because I think, depending on the band, they rehearse a lot without their singer. So usually the guys know the song without, they don't need the vocals to guide them. You guys just play with the drummer, but I'm only focusing on the drummer. I don't care if you mess up. I don't care anything about you guys. I'm just getting the drums. That's what I'm focused on. And I'm going to get takes out of the drummer. And then it's like, okay, now let's move on. We've got a scratch guitar and a scratch bass. And then I'll get the bass right. And then I'll get the guitars right. And then I'll do vocals and harmony vocals. And then I prefer, sorry, this turned into a whole thing. I prefer to do any sort of sweetening stuff, which we don't do a lot up there, but we do sometimes, like keyboards, percussion, all that stuff. I like doing that stuff after the vocals are finalized.
Do you know where to kind of fit it in?
Where to fit it in and kind of how it... And honestly, if I had my choice, I honestly would probably do final... If I was... So the teacher has really produced the song. I'm only producing in the sense of getting good takes. I'm not really helping people with their parts or any of that. Like, the part is just the part, and whether it fits or not, that's the part. I'm not producing in that sense. But if I were, I often like to do bass also after the vocal, because the bass and the vocal interact the most out of any of the... harmonically interact the most out of any of the...
I know I've heard you say that before, but I don't understand why. I don't remember what the answer was.
Well, just that, like, you might do a bass fill or a bass walk or something and not realize that actually for a second is conflicting with the vocal. Like, the bass line might make sense on its own, but as the bass fill is moving, it might cross a bad note.
Right, and in guitar, you're usually playing in the holes, so that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm not all over it. Right. Or I'm playing chords, so...
Okay.
Whereas a bass line, you might do something really cool and hip, and it sounds awesome as a bass line, but then when you're matching it with the vocal, it's like, that gets sour for a second in between there. Yeah. Maybe like if you're doing some voice leading thing, like if you were doing like the one, and then you're going to the one with the third in the bass, but you're walking to the four, but that if the third is also in the melody at that point, it gets weak. So that's why it's really helpful to do bass last if you're varying parts. Is just on the other hand, like when I do bands and I can do pre-production, I don't worry about that as much because I'm usually sorting that out in pre-production. Right. But if I'm not doing as much pre-production, I would usually try to do bass last. And then it's like, so then that gives us the flexibility, change the vocals all we want. If a different note is like, hey, don't go down on that note, stay up on, and we can worry about that, and then put the bass on last so that there's no conflicts.
I see. That makes sense.
Which is... one of those things you learn from experience that, like, crap, I wish we were doing the bass last because that part's not good now. And you know what I mean? And you just like, I had that happen enough times that I was like, all right, when I can, that's how I'm going to do it because makes it easier. So that was great. Love doing that. Great. Cool band, cool song. Anyway, so that was my Sunday. Your Sunday was a rehearsal.
What did I rehearse?
Jacob.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Rehearsal with Jacob Larson Band for his upcoming EP release party, which is this Friday. Such a great band. So Jeff Peterson on drums, Bijoux Barbosa on bass. Great to see him again. Been a while. Adam Ravel on keys. And my sister, Kristen Henry, on background vocals with me. Steve Langamo on guitar, and Sarah Mount on
that's right.
on Barry sax, and then I didn't catch the trumpet player's name, unfortunately. But
so it's a pretty big band.
Yeah,
like huge. But
yeah,
pretty big.
Yeah, pretty big, and everything went great. I mean, everyone is both really good players and is well prepared. And this wasn't the first time that these people have played this music. Although it was funny, Bijoux was saying, he was like, did I record these lines? Did I record bass on this album? And Jacob's like, yeah, we have video of you recording this. Like, there's proof. He's like, man, it's been so long. I don't even remember these songs.
I've had that happen too. Like, this part is crazy. And it's like, oh, I did that.
Yeah. Steve was saying the same thing about some of his guitar, that he had to relearn some of the songs. He had produced the album.
Yeah.
I mean, he produced the whole thing. Anyway, that was a fun rehearsal, hanging out and seeing everybody. And then on Monday, last night, you and I had rehearsal with Cody for
his album release.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we learned a new song, a very cool new song called Unstoppable. And we polished up some little bits. I mean, we've been playing these songs for several shows now, and they're solid, but there's always like, there's this note where Brian hits it, but I don't.
Right.
Or, we polished up, the new version of Inquiry.
Yeah. Are we all doing the exact same thing on that little like run that gets us into the chorus?
Right.
Like, are we doing it just, and half the time, more than 3/4 of the time, we are doing. You check and you go, okay, all right, we are all doing that. Mm-hmm. Or I'll say something to you, like, hey, are you doing that accent or whatever? And it's just because, like, I can't necessarily hear that great.
We also added the band into what has been a piano voice song, ballad.
Yeah, we sure did.
So, Uncomfortable, which Amanda Hawkins often sings with Cody. Mm-hmm. If she's not there, then I do. That's a piano vocal ballad, but we added the rest of the band later on, like
drums comes
bridge
in,
throughout, and it was so cool.
It was really cool. It was
just made
really
it even
cool.
more powerful. It's a great song to begin with.
Yeah, that's a good example of forgetting stuff, because you were saying that I thought of that, and I was like, I have no memory of thinking that.
That's why I write everything down, because I forget to.
I was about to compliment you. That was such a cool idea. And I was like, oh, wait, I think you said I thought of that. Either way, you remembered it, and it was super cool. So, wow, lots of... we were working on our kitchen floor.
Yeah, my hands are so tired.
Yeah. And I was looking at my Spotify right before we started, and Spotify recommended another EP that I worked on this year to me as a new release. I guess probably because I have that artist on a playlist or something. On my music production playlist. But still, like, seeing, like, new releases, and it was an album I did. I was like, wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. That's Casey Hardy Brown. Casey HB, who we've talked about on the podcast. Mm-hmm. We should have her on. How much fun would that be? Oh, my gosh. Yeah, we should.
Yeah, we absolutely should. And I'm playing her album release party November 12th.
Man, this is the season for album releases.
Album releases all over the place.
Dang. And you're playing with Half Zen tomorrow night, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Half Zen is, we're taking it out to Lion Slayer's, a little tiny place on Colfax.
Yeah. I'm going to drop by after I finish teaching.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try to find out when we're doing it.
Okay.
We are just going by an open mic, playing full band, but the idea there is just getting the thing in front of people. Because we've talked about it is so different. I remember specifically talking about it the first show we both did with Cody when you started playing with him, and how different it is in rehearsal and in front of people.
Yes.
And it's baffling how it is night and day. I don't know if it's just that your attention is divided or what, but I can rehearse at home a ton, go to actual band rehearsals, and be like, I know this stuff backwards and forwards, and you get in front of people, and it's just like you're just like, you're just all over the place, and you get a few shows in, and you're like, oh, well, now I'm, totally comfortable. So we are working with Half Zen to kind of get them His album release party is going to be in January.
Okay.
And so we're going to try to just get a few shows in with them.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I can't wait to see the band that he's pulled together.
Yeah, it's cool. It is a real band. It's, sometimes we have bands that are hired guns, but Jonathan has put together a real band. So,
yeah,
pretty cool. Well,
you have to get to the studio.
35, yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
It's kind of a long one.
Okay, well, I'm going to go to the studio, and you're going to...
I have a couple of lessons. I'm going to work down on my ever-present to-do list. I'm going to check the You Don't Want My Love music video, because you're finishing the single today.
Yeah.
You say, well, we've kind of eaten into your time, but I need to make sure the video chorus still works.
Oh, right, because the lyric change.
Yeah.
Which we talked about.
Yeah. God, this has taken so long to get done.
It really has.
Did not think... I mean, we filmed the music video in July, so the song was probably done early in spring.
Right.
It's taken a year to get this thing out. Yay!
Whatever. We can do stuff at our own pace.
Yes, we can. But we have so many more songs to do.
I know. We'll start knocking them out faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta get a different system.
Yeah, you should just work for nobody but me, although I don't pay you, so that's tough.
Yeah.
Well, at least not for our songs.
Yeah, right.
Anyway.
Okay, well...
So, we forgot to do the sponsored by, so...
sponsored by...
This podcast is sponsored by Performance High Voice and Music Studio and by Home Designer Collection luxury vinyl plank flooring that looks like wood.
Yes.
That's what we're putting down in the kitchen right now, and it looks phenomenal.
Home Decor Collection. If you want vinyl...
Home Decorators Collection.
Home Decorators Collection?
Yeah.
Home Decorators Collection. When you want vinyl that looks like wood, they've got it.
Maybe they'll send us some money for saying that. You're right.
It's kind of a weird slogan, but that's their slogan.
All right. You get to the studio. I'm going to get on with all the things I do. And we will see you guys next week.
Thanks. Bye.